Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Littlefellas Sports Podcast. And as you can see, we're here to discuss about the Premier League and the happenings of the Premier League over the past 1 week, and obviously what's coming up over this weekend. Obviously, there are a lot of interesting and big games coming up this weekend, and we're here to discuss about these games and what's happened in the last week. And there's a lot which has happened in the last week with, of course, Hari, Nars, and Raghuveer, all three who've been on the show before. So, welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
And
having me.
And before we proceed, obviously, as usual, please do like, share, subscribe to the channel. Obviously, as it's a live show, do send in your comments, and if you have any questions, we'll answer them also. So, first, we'll start off with Manchester City, who are currently, you could say, who could potentially go 4 points clear tomorrow if they beat Sheffield United, who they face tomorrow. Of course, with City, they're in really good form. There's no question that they're very much close to their best, and they've, I think, won the last 6 or 7 Premier League games, and they're looking absolutely brilliant. Even after the loss of Kevin De Bruyne, they were very convincing in their win against West Brom last week, and I think they're looking in really good shape. But of course, they're coming up against the Sheffield side, who obviously beat Manchester United in very, very, let's say, very deserving manner, in a very deserving manner, where they deserve to win that game. And Sheffield will have some confidence, but of course, we know how good Manchester City are. So we'll start with Hari first. Hari, what do you make of Manchester City's game against West Brom, and how do you see the Sheffield game panning out?
Yeah. City. If I remember correctly, like a couple of shows before when I've been on, I remember saying City just have to find their feet and they can come back into the thing because the beginning of the season wasn't great for them. They didn't have strikers, they couldn't score goals, and they are leaking goals at the back also. And Guardiola has clearly seen what he needs to fix. He's fixed it with Stones and Diaz at the back, and I think they are the best defensive record. They have the best defensive record in the Premier League right now. So he's fixed everything at the back. Again, the famous saying that attackers can only win you matches, but defense can win you titles. So I think from that point, I think City have fixed their defense. They've been doing too good, in my opinion. Stones and Diaz, especially Diaz, who they bought for 60 million, and I think he's probably the best signing this summer. Even though like we signed Partey and like Chelsea signed like 6 players, but I still think Diaz is probably the best signing this summer for them. And the game against West Brom, what can I say? 4-0 in halftime. I mean, like, they just ripped apart a West Brom team that probably deserved ripping apart because they have Sam Allardyce as their coach. I mean, that guy cannot be a coach for any football club at the top level. Sorry, no disrespect though. But yeah, City, it's good for them. They're facing Sheffield next. The Sheffield are coming off against the win with very, very informed United, so they'll be feeling positive. They'll be desperate to get out of the relegation zone, and but still, I think City's quality is like too good right now. They're playing their best football even without Kevin De Bruyne, and other players are stepping up. It's so good to see the burden getting lifted off De Bruyne for once because at some point in the season it looked like they just gave the ball to him and just expected magic, and that was their only way. Um, it's very good to see other players stepping up now, especially Gundogan, who's been in good form. And so yeah, against Sheffield, good. I mean, thank God they won against United, but I don't think they can do the same in 2 weeks against the two Manchester clubs. So I think City will win it.
Fair enough. I think with City, as you said, you mentioned clearly about De Bruyne's absence, and even in his absence, how they've continued to perform well. Of course, tougher tests than Sheffield, and then West Brom, and then Sheffield will follow. But obviously, at the moment, you can only beat who's in front of you, and I think they're doing very well in that front. I want to specifically talk about one player. Ilkay Gundogan has been absolutely outstanding for the past, say, 1.5 or 2 months. His roles actually changed in many ways. Usually, Guardiola, till this season, he even used him as a number 6. It's very rare that he used him as a pretty much a second striker, right? Because City don't really play with striker these days, and the absence of Aguero and Jesus being rotated around, I don't think City are using a traditional striker as such, and Gundogan's been absolutely outstanding. So coming over to Rugby, how big an impact do you think Gundogan's had, and how crucial do you think in Kevin De Bruyne's absence is he, especially with slightly tougher challenges coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Um, First of all,
I would like to clarify something. Harry spoke about Partey being one of the signings of the season. I don't know where he's getting that from. He's hardly played in 10 games so far. The one United game, you can't judge Partey for that one game. And coming to your question, yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne, in terms of assists and numbers, also has been down for the past few games, and I think Gundogan and the rest of the players have stepped up for City. And yeah, as you rightly said, the burden on Kevin De Bruyne has significantly decreased due to the stepping up of Gundogan and Rodri, and especially without a proper number nine, and their midfield and attack six have really stepped forward and got the goals that City required because they hadn't scored the same number of goals they usually score at this point of the season last year. So it was comparatively less. So now they've started scoring 4 and 5 against these bottom place teams. So it's a scary sign as a United fan because they are stepping up at the right time. And yeah, I think it's a potential 4 point lead for them in the title too.
Yeah, of course. I think City will definitely feel confident heading into the Sheffield game, and even the
Also,
Guardiola.
another, let me just clarify that Thomas Partey, I meant it in like the profile of the signing and not the players' performance this season, like the teams that have signed like the different profiles of players. And I think like Thomas Partey is one of the world class players that someone has gotten hold of in the Premier League. In the
Yeah.
similar fashion, Ruben Diaz, and I think Ruben Diaz is the best in that.
Fair enough. Obviously, I think Gundogan's. I mean, Kripa said that Gundogan's outperforming his expected goals, but I think Gundogan's a very good finisher. I mean, some of the goals he scored, even the goal against Chelsea and even the goal against West Brom last week, I think is outstanding. I think it's. I mean, obviously, only so long can you go outperform the XT, but I think he's still done very well. And apart from the goals itself, I think he's having a huge impact in terms of Manchester City. Coming over to you, Nas, quite simply, do you think Sheffield can pull off one more masterclass, or do you think City will win the game? So provide your prediction, basically.
So yeah, just like I said in the last preview, so I thought that KDB without KDB they'll have to win the three games, and they've started off with a final win. So as you asked for my prediction, I don't see Sheffield United scoring against City basically because of City's defense. They've kept 11 or 12 clean sheets, I think, and I'm pretty sure City will score a couple of goals. So I don't think Sheffield is getting any points in this game. That will be my prediction.
Fair enough. All right. Now we'll obviously go into the big game of the week. There's no question that the game of the week is Arsenal against Manchester United, and fittingly, we've got an Arsenal fan and a couple of United fans here to discuss about the game. So, Arsenal against United in general itself is a very big game. I mean, irrespective of where the two teams are, considering the history and the tradition of how the two clubs have been there for say last 20-25 years, been at the top of the Premier League for many years together, but of course not going through the greatest of times right now. But in general, I think obviously there's no question that Arsenal against Manchester United is always a big game, and there's no doubt that this game's got a lot of significance for both teams. Obviously, Arsenal are currently sitting in 10th, but I think they'll feel that they can push into the Europa League spots. I mean, as their form continues to improve since that patchy November-December period. And of course, with Manchester United, there's no doubt that the loss against Sheffield would have stung badly. Obviously, anyone going into that game would have expected United to win, and United will be hoping that this game against Arsenal is a good opportunity to make things right and hopefully go on another winning run. Because obviously, with the way City are performing this season, I think it's important that United go on a winning run. Of course, City have got some slightly tougher games to come, but obviously this game is absolutely massive. So starting off with Hari, what really is your expectations about this game? And of course, you've got good memories of it already this season with Arsenal finally winning at Old Trafford after nearly 15 years. So how confident are you heading into the game, and what really are your expectations?
So yeah, there's only one expectations clearly. We need to win. If not for the game's sake itself, at least for our position in the table, we need the 3 points. Apart from that, recent history, we've always done well against you guys. We seem to turn up against you guys. It's nice that like you feel good about going into a game, unlike like in November or December. I'm thankful that like we hit a good form or like a good run exactly when we're meeting you, and we didn't take you on, especially when instead like we swap out the Chelsea game for United, I think we'd have lost that game, and thankfully Chelsea lost it. So yeah, I'm thankful that we've hit top form. Not top, we are good form. But you guys are also in good form. Although the last defeat uh, might have knocked your confidence off a little bit, or it'll either just boost you to do well in this game. So yeah, in terms of like history, recent history at least, we've done well. So I'm
Us
expecting
having lost against United in 4 games, 4 Premier League games.
yeah, the recent 4 Premier League games, and I don't. The last time I remember us losing to you was the FA Cup 3-1, and even before that, I think 18, 17 season. I can't remember exactly what was the result,
It
but
was the Fellaini winner.
yeah, it was a Fellaini winner against
It was
yeah
a
Wenger's last
Lingard
game.
dance, bro.
Wenger's last game.
It's a Lingard dance.
Yeah, but yeah,
The Lingard dance was actually the FA Cup game.
Pick up.
So
yeah,
obviously
the
we had
Lingard dance
two
was FA
dance
Cup.
scenarios, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
second
I
one
think
was
it
the
was
FA Cup.
fitting that Auba replied with the another dance when he scored the 1-0 winner previously in the season. But yeah, I'm hoping for an Arsenal win. We need the win. I think we can win. You guys, you guys have your problems. You guys are not faultless. Your season is not as is your first of all. Like let's address some things. You guys always seem to go a goal down and then try to come back. You guys have the most points from losing positions, and so you guys are basically so we just have to stop you from winning from a losing position if we score. And yeah, I'm doubtful about like Auba coming back. The team selection wise, Auba is a doubt, but I'm hoping Partey and Tierney are back, and of course the front three will be the same: Lacazette, ESR, and Saka. And I think we have enough to win the game. That's what I think, and I think I'll go for a 2-1 Arsenal win.
Fair enough. I actually think it'll be a very tight game either way. I think it'll be
Yeah.
a game of not too many chances for either team, and obviously the team which takes the chances and when they dominate, because I think both teams will have phases where they'll dominate against each other, and if you take those opportunities at that time, then you obviously have a better chance of winning. Because I think it's going to be a very tight game. Two teams who really won't want to lose, but at the same time know that they have to win the game also. So obviously, I think there's no question that it's going to be a very, very interesting game to watch in terms of tactical battle. Coming out to you, Raghuveer, from United perspective, obviously very disappointing that United lost. I think there's no question that the Sheffield game was something which was not rather unexpected. I think the performance was really poor, and the worst thing about the Sheffield game was I think players really looked clueless. I think that's fair to say. And some of the two defensive mistakes we did was horrible. I think De Gea was at fault for at least one of those two goals, and Alex Telles was, I don't know what to say. And of course, I can't even blame one or two guys because the entire team was so poor. I can't think of one player who performed from the front three to the midfield. I think Pogba had a good 10 minutes. First 10 minutes, he looked like out of the world. It felt like it was going to be one of those days for Paul Pogba. And then I couldn't really find him in the game. The likes of Rashford and Martial were absolutely pathetic, both defensively and offensively. They offered absolutely nothing. And you could say it was just one of those games where United didn't turn up also. And considering the position we are in and obviously the importance of the game, how big a game is this, and where do you think United can win this game? Because we obviously will have to try to win the game. So, what do you make of the game in general?
I think it would be a great midfield battle. I think Thomas Partey and Xhaka have formed a really good midfield pair now. For Arsenal, they have become really solid. And I think for us to win, I think we have to drop one of Bruno or Pogba to stabilize the midfield. So I don't think playing Fred, McTominay, Bruno, and Pogba gives us stability. Pogba out in the right wing, I don't think it works for us. So I think, and obviously, I think Martial should be dropped for this game. He's been out of form and he was absolutely flat against Sheffield United. So we drop either one of Pogba and Bruno and play Cavani, Rashford, and Greenwood up top with Bruno or Pogba with Fred and McTominay at the base of the midfield.
I'm really glad if you drop one of Bruno or Pogba. I'm really glad when you say that.
I completely disagree with what Raghu said. I think you have to be brave. If you go and play, I mean, it's Arsenal at the end of the day. I have respect for him. There's no question that it's a big game. Okay? Paul Pogba has to play. If he's Liverpool away, I can understand putting Paul Pogba on the right wing. I think Paul Pogba has to play. Whether we play a diamond or not, we cannot make Paul Pogba sit on the bench. And I know he didn't have the greatest of games against Sheffield, but you have to consider the impact he had in the weeks before that. And of course, Bruno Fernandes is not talking about, right? I think you have to make a sacrifice one way or the other. You have to be brave. I think it's a game United have to
We
win. There's no
played the
point.
diamond at home against Arsenal and we got outplayed by Arsenal. So I
We
don't
did,
think
but I don't think we'll play a diamond though. I think it's going to be a 4-2-3-1 where either, I mean, it depends on how brave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer decides to be. I think it's a factor of whether whether he plays on the right the way he played against Liverpool, or it's going to be in the middle. So
But I think the diamond didn't work out the last time because Martial didn't play up top. Like you guys asked before that, the Champions League game he played really well against PSG and
yeah, Rashford and
didn't
Greenwood
play in
couldn't
the
hold up the
diamond.
ball, but because Cavani, that's slightly different. There. I mean, someone to hold up the ball.
yeah.
I think that's important. And diamond, if you don't have anyone to hold up the ball, because you've got a lot of demands on the fullback. If you don't have anyone holding the ball, there's no point in you having 4 midfielders around there. So I think, and as for the day, I mean, I think you should go and see the kick he did for the second goal. He literally went and kicked the ball straight to the Sheffield United play instead of kicking it on the rose end. So I don't know what.
But after that, our players just stood there
Obviously,
and
that
watched.
is there. There's no question that the backline switched off. I have no idea how that guy took 2 shots away in a space of 10 seconds with all the time in the world. But I still feel De Gea could have done better for the second one, especially.
Also,
To
let
be
me add
honest,
that. Okay, go on.
like to be honest, like in the morning when I watched the goal, like the second goal, he honestly looked like a score hero. One, the opponent team just stood still and the other person just kept taking shots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me add that like this game heavily depends on how Solskjaer wants to play it because I think Arteta will go for the win because Solskjaer is he's done a lot of nil-nils before in big games. He's almost played for the draw. Like there's sometimes where I feel like you play for the draw and he's just happy to get away with the point and just beat the teams he can beat. So I really want United to be
I think
confident.
games
No,
last
I
season show
completely disagree
otherwise,
with
and the
you.
games against Liverpool also show otherwise. I think it's a case of against See, I think
How the
Spurs was just
opposition come out
yeah. I
because
think
I feel Chelsea and
exactly
City came for the draw this season. They were too
yeah.
defensive, and us going forward, we struggled to break down defenses. So I think
Chelsea and City was a
Possibly,
similar
possibly.
game. I think both were very similar at home. When it came to Spurs, I mean, it was just a washout. The game was a complete shambles. And the Arsenal game, we didn't turn up at all. You guys were absolutely outstanding. I don't think it was a case of us sitting back. If anything, we tried to push too hard at times and we really couldn't keep the ball well enough. So I think it was a case of Arsenal playing really well. And I think the game against Liverpool, Anfield, you know how Anfield games work, right? And the game, FA Cup game, obviously, I think Liverpool played almost a full strength team and we also played an almost full strength team. But I think our performance showed that it wasn't something where we decided to sit back. It was a pretty open game. And I think, but I agree. I mean, we've struggled to score goals this season against the top 6, but I think it's not a case of intent. More on that particular day, we haven't been able to break down that particular team, or we haven't had the greatest of performances on that particular day.
Also, let me answer Kripa. Yes, Oba starts. Oba is available. Oba starts. There's no question. There's no merit. Whatever form he's in, whatever thing is in, he starts.
So I think it definitely will be interesting. There's a question about Van de Beek starting. I think with Paul Pogba there, I don't think there's a place for Van de Beek at the moment, especially in a big game. I think I'd rather see Paul Pogba start, whether he starts on the right or in midfield. I prefer him to be in midfield. I think you have to be brave against Arsenal because they've got 2 really good midfield players there. Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey can keep the ball really well. And if you play a Fred and McTominay, there's no question that they provide the grit and determination, and you could potentially hit Arsenal on the counter with that. But I think you need to be slightly more brave and allow your forward players to express themselves. So in that way, I think I'd rather see Pogba and midfield. So finally, coming over to you, Nars, obviously from a neutral perspective, how do you see this game going? How do you think this game, from a tactical point of view, will go? Do you think it'll be an open game, or do you think Arsenal, one of the 2 teams, will try to attack more than the other team?
I think it should be a pretty open game. So it's Arsenal versus United. You can always expect some banter during this game. So it can go either way the game. But for United's point of view, I'm going to say that you guys actually lack a striker who can score goals like consistently. I've been saying this for the past like 2-3 years. Like Martial turned up last season with 20 plus goals, but he's never been a consistent player for Manchester United. And United got Igalo in last window, and he beat Favell like a couple of days ago, and he didn't play that much. And Cavani, yeah, he's old, but he's really good. I don't think he can play week in week out in the Premier League. So I think that will be the negative and the X factor. Like you guys don't have to compete for the league. Like in the game's perspective, right? So Arsenal have been in great form right now. Actually, the it's very different the scenario. Like the last time you played them, after you got beaten by them, you turned up in the league, and now they are turning up. So it should be a fairly even match, and you definitely have to mention how well Bukayo Saka is playing right now. He's in unbelievable form, and Thomas Partey is also back, and he's been putting in a couple of shifts and all. And I expect Arsenal to go on the attacking front, and in Lacazette is also been in good form. So I think I'll go for an Arsenal win basically. So I think it'll be a 2-1, just like Harry said.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think both teams will try to win. I think it'll be a tight game, but it'll be a game where at some point both teams will have to go for it, because I think at this point of the season, 1 point, I mean, you could say it's not too bad result considering where you are, but I think both teams will be desperate to win. I think both teams will expect to beat each other also. I think Arsenal at home will be confident. At the same time, United will look at Arsenal's recent form. I mean, let's say last couple of months form and say that this is after all a team which is still in 10th and we are supposedly trying to win the league here. So I think United will definitely be confident as well. So Raghuveer, your predictions for the game?
No, I would like to ask Narayan something from a Chelsea's point of view. Don't you think Arsenal going above you guys is a problem going into the season?
Yeah, I think that would be a problem, but I think I actually feel confident about Tuchel right now. I think we'll start pulling strings, and I think we'll start getting the win. So mostly I just want to
We'll
draw
talk
from this
about
match
Chelsea.
because yeah. So I
We'll
just
talk
want to
about
draw
Chelsea
for this
before.
match. So draw this match would be a good result for Chelsea's point of view, but I think Arsenal edges it this time based on form.
So Raghuveer, your predictions?
I want a United win, but I think the game will end up in a draw because looking at our form against Sheffield, we were so flat, and our midfield player, especially Bruno, is not performing the past 4 games apart from the FA Cup free kick. So my hope is a win, but I think it will be a draw.
I think in some way, I think if United obviously won against Sheffield, I think the confidence and the expectations would have been so much on United that Arsenal would have been comfortable in the underdog position, and they had embraced that in some way. But right now, I think United, there is a little bit of apprehension, and United players would have definitely got to kick up their backside for that performance. I think they would have realized that that performance is really unacceptable and they have to turn up. So in that way, I'm hoping that there is a comeback and there is some sort of fight back for United, and I hope that United can pull this off. I think if United play bravely, I think they can. There is enough weaknesses in the Arsenal team to get exposed. So we'll see how it goes. I think United can win this game. So it definitely will be an interesting game, a close game. There's no question about that. So obviously it's definitely the game of the weekend. Next we'll obviously be talking about Chelsea with the Chelsea fan in the house. There's a lot that's changed in the last 10 days for Chelsea. The last time we spoke about Frank Lampard was definitely under pressure. I think we all thought he'd get still another couple of games, and the FA Cup win should have given him slightly more time, and the fact that he's probably the greatest ever player and all that. But of course, with Chelsea, they really don't give a damn about all that, and it was very clear and in some ways a ruthless sacking. So, and obviously Thomas Tuchel walked in to Lampard's road. So, first thoughts on the sacking of Lampard, Nars, and what do you make of the appointment of Thomas Tuchel?
So regarding Frank Lampard, I think fairly like for the 8 to 9 years I've been a Chelsea fan, I think Lampard has been given the most time. Like managers have been sacked for far worse than this actually. So I understand the board's decision about sacking Lampard, but I honestly expected them to give till the end of the season since I think everything is pretty much over for Chelsea this season except FA Cup. I think if we get a good run in the FA Cup, we might win it, but I think we won't do much in the league and Champions League. I'm not expecting us to beat Atletico. So on that basis, I expected Lampard to be here till the end of the season. But in the last 4 to 5 games, we've looked tactically naive. To be honest, we were not good, and our team was all over the place. The pressing was totally bad, and everybody was out of position, and it looked like just like a circus actually. Like 11 clowns were playing on the field, and they every team that played actually battered us. In the Everton game, I thought, okay, this is the first game. Let's just sweep it under the rugs and let's see what we do. And the Wolves game, it evidently showed after we scored and we conceded the goal against Bodens, and the last 20 minutes they just kept coming in the counter attack, and our midfield was non-existent, and all these led to Arsenal defeat, Manchester City defeat, and Leicester outplaying us, and it was just too much for the board. And on that note, they sacked Lampard. So I think there's no emotions based on this, and Chelsea have been ruthless since Roman Abramovich taken over. That's why like Chelsea has been one of the most successful clubs in London. So Lampard is gone, and we are moving on. So Tuchel came in. So talking about Tuchel, like in just one day, he just took over and he just changed the scenery totally. Like it might be a honeymoon period, yeah, but we didn't win the game though. But I saw a lot of positives in that game. So we really kept the ball very good, and our pressing was really good. The positioning of the players were really good, but I'm not sure if the same players will be playing every game. Like this is Tuchel's, like he always changes the players every game. So I have a lot of expectations on Tuchel, and yeah, like Ashwin saying, thoughts on Joe playing wing backs, and Chelsea looking solid against Wolves. Yeah. So if you saw the match, you can evidently see that we look different from the Chelsea that played Wolves a month ago, who lost because of the naivety in the midfield. Like we just kept giving on chances to them on the counter, and in the last game, actually, even though we kept a lot of possession, a lot of them were just sideways passing, and we just stopped Wolves on the counter. We just really did that very well. So I am positive about Tuchel. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think as you said, I think there was absolutely no sentiment. There is no. I mean, you could say that it was one of the most ruthless sackings, even apart from Chelsea itself in general, was very ruthless sacking. Because I know that Lampard had a touch iffy run in from December onwards after the Everton game, but I think he still could have been afforded more time. And I don't know what Chelsea would expect from this season from here on, because obviously you could say that they're trying to
They expect a top four. I think. They expect a top four, and I think this opportunity was too good to pass on for Tuchel and Chelsea because
yeah, I mean, from a Tuchel perspective, I can completely understand why he's taking the Chelsea, but there's no question
yeah.
that Chelsea was one of the best jobs to take. I mean, as a club, you can say there are questions over or whether you will get a time in terms of trying to build a philosophy and build your own team, but in terms of working, playing squad and all that, I think it's a very, very good job, and I have no doubts that he would have been very happy to take this job. So, Ari, from a neutral perspective, what do you make of Thomas Tuchel coming to Chelsea, and how much of an impact do you think he can have this season? Obviously, going forward, you think that Chelsea would spend a lot of money again this summer and try to properly challenge for the title next year. But this season, I mean, considering the level on points with you after 20 games, which is ridiculous since you had because you were basically in a relegation batch 6 weeks back, right? So for Chelsea to be on same points as you after 20 games is pretty mad to talk about. So what do you think is realistically acceptable for Chelsea this season?
Yeah, before I'd like to talk about Tuchel, I'll just make like a comment about Frank Lampard's hacking. I think it's possibly like a very, very bad decision from Chelsea, especially considering it's Frank Lampard and what he means to the club and what he is about the club. Like he is a Chelsea man, and it's very sad. Like managers, it's unbelievable because I you think that Chelsea would have learned from looking at United, who given Ole the time, and even though there have been infinite people saying that he's not good enough, he's out of step, and like the United both sticking with him, and if they, you guys are on top of the league and you're doing well now. We were top of the league, sorry, but and even us, like looking at us, like even if you don't want to go a year back, just like a month back, and like you can see it's just a matter of few games where you can just turn it around, and you know what, you guys are still like 5 points of top four, and Liverpool drop a couple of results, you went the top four. Anything could have happened, and they didn't even want to take the chance with Lampard, and I don't understand why. I mean, if you're sacking him basically like purely based off performances on the pitch, yeah, it was sackable. Like I think the performance on the pitch was absolutely sackable, but I think we should have given a little bit more time, like to change things up and try new things. He's a manager. He's learning on the job. He's only been 1 year into 2 years into coaching now. It's very, 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 very sad to see Chelsea board, but it's expected from them. This is what you get with Chelsea. And on Thomas Tuchel, I think he's a very good coach. He's proved himself like in multiple spots. The only worry for me uh, is he's always played like I mean he's coming after coaching Neymar and Mbappe, and when you have Neymar and Mbappe in your team, like the standards are set. Like if I'm only worried like he wants Chelsea to play how Neymar and Mbappe would combine, and I don't think Chelsea have that much quality right now, even though they've signed so many players. Potentially, the two players who can be there, Neymar and Mbappe, is Havertz and Werner. These two
But
signings, German
but
signings,
five
season.
years back, but 5 years back he managed Mkhitaryan, who was an Arsenal legend, right?
He's not an Arsenal legend. He's moved out of Arsenal. Thank you for the service, Mkhitaryan, but no, he's not an Arsenal legend. And at that point in time, he was very good. Also, if I should add, he was the best German player in Bundesliga. I mean, not the best player in Bundesliga. He won the Bundesliga Player of the Year, and so I don't think that's the point. But yeah, I think that's the thing. And like looking at the game, the first game, I can see the changes. Like Reese was not spamming. Reese was not even on the pitch. Reese was not spamming crosses, and you can see Kai's movement. I love the way Kai played in the draw against Wolves. He's there. He's mentally there. The thing is, someone else needs to be there with him. But it's good to see Kai coming back. He's a very good talent. I think he has a great future. And let's see what Tuchel does. I'm hopeful. Like from an Arsenal point of view, I hope he fails. Of course, I hope he fails. I hope he gets sacked by next December and Chelsea repeat the cycle. But let's see. Let's see. I'm thinking it's a good signing, but I think the Chelsea board again, if he doesn't deliver very soon, he's also gonna get the sack.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Lampard, I don't know what they expected when it came to giving him the job, and I mean because they knew that he was a coach with just a year's experience and not someone who's an established coach like a Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, right? So for them to expect him to come and immediately try and challenge for the day, I don't know what they really expected. So it was a weird appointment in the first place, and even more weirder and a very ruthless sacking in the end. And guys, before we proceed, please do like, share, subscribe to the channel. Please like this video, please, because we can get more people to view this and we can share it around. So please do like this video. And now after Chelsea, we'll obviously be talking about Spurs, of course. Spurs played Liverpool yesterday, and Spurs had a pretty shocking result. I think they were very, very poor yesterday. I think their expected goals was 0.12, which for a supposedly big club under a very good manager, world-class manager, supposedly. So he wasn't. I mean, it really didn't work out for Spurs yesterday, and I think they got absolutely battered by Liverpool. They scored their first goals in the Premier League in 2021. I think they thoroughly dominated Liverpool. I mean, thoroughly dominated against Spurs, and if it was just 3-0, 3-1, sorry, and that one goal was obviously an absolute rocket, but it could have been a lot more than 3 with a couple of close VAR calls going against Liverpool. I think Liverpool were absolutely brilliant, and you could say that they were somewhere close to their very best. But when it came to Spurs, obviously they lost Harry Kane, also a huge miss for them. There's no question that he'll be. I mean, Mourinho said that he's injured both his ankles and he expects him to be out for a few weeks. There's not an exact time frame as to when he's expected to be back, but then obviously we don't know when he's back. So obviously Kane's going to be a huge miss. So coming out to you, Raghuveer, of course you like Mourinho a lot. So what do you think is a realistic expectation for us from now to the end of the season? Because I think they're caught up in the not really challenging for the league. They're not in the top four at the moment, but at the same time they're not too far away either. So what do you make of Spurs' season so far, and what do you think is probably going to happen towards the end of the season, especially now that we have the news that Harry Kane's missing for the next few weeks?
Yeah, they look like title contenders at the start, and they had a great start to the season. They beat us 6-1, and Harry Kane and Son have worked really well, and they beat City as well. So, but now they've dropped off, as you said. Their XG is always very low in all the big games, and I think Kane missing out is going to be a huge miss for them. I don't think they have a proper replacement. They have Carlos Vinicius, and Yeah, so I think Spurs will have to challenge the top four and probably win the Carabao Cup as well. So I think that'll be a good finish to the season, and hopefully with a few more signings they can challenge for the title next season.
I think with the Europa League also, I think Mourinho will definitely take that very seriously, and he'll be hoping that he can break the duck of Spurs not winning a trophy since 2008. I think he'll be, if even if he doesn't get the top four but wins any one out of the Carabao Cup or the Europa League, I think he'll make it as a very very big achievement, and he'll say that it's not even in Spurs' heritage and all that. And we know what Mourinho does when things go even slightly further. So coming over to you, Harif, as a North London rival, are you really worried about Spurs and what's happening for them under Mourinho, or do you think it's just a standard 2-3 year cycle which is not going to be really successful towards the end? As we all know, it has, has it happened to United and Chelsea towards the end?
Yeah. Spurs were apparently titled. They were on top of the table, I think, at the beginning of December,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's good to see them fall off because the football they play cannot be rewarded. It should not be rewarded. It's abomination to football. I think personally, it's just bad, man. Like you cannot. How do you play like that? It's impossible. But for them, I think they're going to fall off. Especially like if you watch closely, if you're paying attention in the game yesterday. The moment Kane went off, right, like the second
They
half,
didn't have an attacking threat at all.
it was done. Like they didn't know what to do. They didn't know who to pass. They didn't know what was going on. Son looked like a passenger. Imagine saying that Son looked like a passenger. The guy who's been one of the best players this season, and he looked like a literal passenger on the field. It's bad. Like and it's Mourinho is going to struggle without Kane. And in terms of winning the cup, they just don't. They just won't. They just won't. Like I mean, we are there in the Europa League. You're there in the Europa League, and there are other good teams. And I don't think Mourinho has the squad. If another couple of more injuries, and I think they possibly can drop off even more. So I don't think they'll do well. They'll finish sixth. They'll get into Europa again. I think. I don't see them entering top four because for me top four right now, the three guys are nailed on. So City, Liverpool, and United are nailed on. The last spot is for like five different teams, and anybody can finish. And I don't see Spurs doing well enough to get the fourth spot. So I think it'll be difficult for them to get into Champions League. Um, yeah, that's
I
about
think,
it.
I think with the Europa League and Spurs, I think I wouldn't be completely surprised if they won the Europa League. I think Mourinho, I mean, if they really start dropping a lot of points in the Premier League in the absence of Kane in the next few weeks, I see him completely crossing off the Premier League, them finishing fifth or sixth. And I think he'll completely focus on trying to win the League Cup against City in April and trying to win the Europa League. And I mean, Europa League, I think definitely if Spurs can keep Kane, Son, Tongi, and Dombele fit, I think they definitely have the quality to win the Europa League. And whatever you say, I think Mourinho's got that quality to win that one-off games where where he'll happily make his team sit back, have 10% possession, and hope that Kane and Son can produce that one moment of magic and they can win from there. So I think I wouldn't rule them out for trying to win the Europa League because I think they have the quality for that. But when it comes to the league, I agree. I don't see them finishing in the top four because I think, especially after Kane's injury, I think Mourinho, his attacking game plan is basically lump the ball to Kane and hope that Kane finds one out of Son or Ndombele and one of those guys. So in the absence of Kane, I think he's going to definitely struggle. And yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you said. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what Mourinho does to help Spurs score goals, especially in games where they expected to win because teams will sit back against them. So I'm interested to see what Mourinho does. And now, obviously, talking about Liverpool, who finally got their first goals of 2021 yesterday. I think in some way they I know they haven't been in the greatest forms and they even lost against United, but that United game would have probably given them confidence that at least we're finally scoring goals. So I think in that way, yesterday's performance was probably a result of that. I think. But the big problem for Liverpool is that they've lost Fabinho and Matip yesterday. Fabinho didn't start yesterday, and Matip came off at halftime. And from Jurgen Klopp's comments today, I think Matip's expected to be out for a slightly considerable amount of time. I don't know exactly how long, but at least a few weeks. And Fabinho is not playing this weekend, so they've basically got two youngsters at centre back, whether it's Reece Williams or Nat Phillips or Jordan Henderson. So I mean, as Nars says, I mean, if they face a really, really good team, it's going to be really tough for them. But fair play to them. They still managed to get the win yesterday. I think They obviously are heavily dependent on their attack in the absence of very stable defense. So it'll be interesting to see what Liverpool does. So coming out to you, Nars, your reaction told a lot of things. They've got a game against West Ham. West Ham were doing really well. West Ham were above them yesterday, actually. So, and they've obviously signed Jesse Lingard. From a personal point of view, I really hope Jesse Lingard does really well at West Ham, and who knows, maybe even score against them this weekend. So, how do you see the game against West Ham going? And in general, what do you make of Liverpool? And do you think they are capable of still challenging for the league, especially considering the points difference and the injuries they have?
Manchester United. I think Harry's happy that Jesse Lingard left Manchester United. Like, seeing from his reaction, there won't be a dance this weekend against you guys. But coming to Liverpool, West Ham have been really good defensively lately, and if they just stop the attack, which just scored 4 goals in the last 7 or 8 games, Antonio will feast on their centre backs. So against Rhys Williams, we saw how poor he was in the FA Cup, and TA, he scored and assisted in the last game, but he's not been in the greatest of forms. Their entire back four, I think Anil, they are on mute.
Muted.
Yeah, I think all the three of you know why Trent scored, right?
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
know. You remember Sukin's comments the other day?
Trent is finished as a 20-year.
Yeah.
So going back to Liverpool, they scored and they look confident in that game attacking wise, and they created a lot of chances, but it's against Spurs actually, and they were in really poor form, and we'll see if Liverpool turn it around in the next few weeks. Basically, they just have to go on a run so that they stay on par with Manchester City. I think Manchester City is actually running away right now, and Liverpool with those injuries, I don't think they'll have their centre back partnership or at least Fabinho available for the next 2 weeks or something, and it's really going to hurt them. I think they're playing Manchester City in 3 weeks, so that will be a very
Not
crucial
3
game
weeks,
for them.
the weekend after this. They're playing
Probably
next weekend.
Manchester City next weekend, so that will be really crucial, and it'll be really funny how that game turns out. And
But City have a horrible record.
Taking everything into consideration, even if they draw, it's enough for City in that game. So it's Liverpool, like the United game. It's
So you
all
can
them
answer that question
go on
also.
attack.
Shreyas is asking whether we think all of us, Nars can go first. Do you think Liverpool can still win the league? Yes or no?
No, I don't see them winning the league.
Yeah, go on, finish Nas.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so I don't see them winning the league because they have a lot to catch up on actually, and they have a lot of injuries also. And as Harry said in the start of this podcast, defense wins you titles, and they're not defending really well right now, and they're just not outscoring opponents enough nowadays to win the league. Basically, they're not.
Harry?
Yeah. So right now I'll say no. But it depends on how if City drop off, right? Like there is a chance that the City will drop
They've got
off.
the Champions League which they'll focus on.
Yeah, so like there are chances where like City will drop off, and so there's a United and Liverpool still need to keep winning every game they can. But personally, I think City will put themselves, and there'll be enough distance between them where it won't worry them anymore, and that alone will allow will smother all title challenge possibilities. Liverpool also on their defense, like their defense is too injury, like there are too many injuries right now, and I don't think they can win it. Like, no.
And Raghuveer, quite simply, or yes or no?
No, from a United fan perspective, no, I can't see them winning the league again. Just a sorrow sight for you. So no.
Yeah, I think unless Liverpool, I think there's not even talk of them making a signing so far. So I think unless they go and in the next 48 hours try and pull off a miracle signing in the next 48 hours, I think it's too difficult. 7 points is a pretty big gap, and I think the fact that Liverpool I think defense at the end of the day, I think defense is very important. I know they haven't scored goals, but I think it's a combination of the fact that the guys in front don't trust the guys in the back also, and they probably in some ways Klopp is forced to hold back those midfielders who are very important for them to press and try to win the ball high up in the pitch. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Liverpool do in the next few weeks, because they've got the Champions League games also coming up. So Shays asking
I'm
who will
hearing,
challenge.
I'm hearing Mustafi's contract is getting terminated. So if they really need a centre back, you can always sign him up.
I'm sure
You
you'll
can
be very
always sell
happy.
David Luiz also.
Yeah, Davilo is always free agent. Like you can take him from us. Please take him from us.
I mean, I think who will challenge City? I think at the moment, I think it's got to be one. I still think it's got to be United and Liverpool, who are obviously the closest, but we don't know how long they can last. And with City also, I mean, at some point they're also going to drop points. So when that bad result comes, maybe it's at Anfield next week, where they've got a horrible record at Anfield. So, and they've got a tough, run of 5 games where they play. I think Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, I think West Ham, and then United in that 5 game run starting next week. So that run, if they get through that run without say dropping more than say 3 or 4 points, I think it's fair to say that they would have definitely taken a pretty significant lead, at least a 5 or 6 point lead in terms of at the top of the league. So I think that period is definitely going to be crucial for Liverpool and City and anyone who's challenging for the league. And finally, we'll talk about Leicester, who continue to prod away, continue in very difficult circumstances, despite injuries, despite the fact that Jamie Vardy is not playing. They got a pretty decent results against Everton in the week. They drew against Everton, not an easy game at all, and they've got Leeds this weekend. So when it comes to Leicester, I have not asked you guys. So I have not asked you, Raghu. So do you think Leicester can genuinely challenge for the top 4 this year, and do you expect them to finish top 4 this season?
No, I feel they have a chance, and they almost finished top 4 last season as well. I think they are consistently becoming a top 6 side right now. I think they have the chance to topple Arsenal and become the next big 6 in the Premier League. I think Leicester with James Madison stepping up instead of Vardy, so they are actually in really good form, and I think probably they have a chance of coming as the 4th team into the top 4.
Fair enough. So Nars, they've got Leeds. I think it's going to be. I think it's one of the most exciting games of the weekend. Leeds against Leicester, 2 teams who try to play on the front foot, and 2 managers who are known for playing attacking football. So how do you see the game going, and what's your prediction for that? Leeds against Leicester.
I think Leicester will win this game, even though they drew against Everton. So Leeds are not in the greatest of forms now. They just won the last game, I think. Before that, they were not in great form. And Leicester, with that midfield, I think they'll be easily able to pass through that Leeds defense, and it'll be like a knife through butter, like they did against us. So they'll win this game. But like you asked, Raghuveer, if they have top 4 aspirations and all, yeah, they're playing really well. But I think Vardy is out for 1 month now. They'll start dropping points, and
Indeed, he's also missing this weekend.
NDD is also missing this weekend, and the likes of Arsenal coming back right now, and I think Southampton and Everton will drop off, and Spurs will stay in 5th and 6th. So it'll be interesting if Chelsea make a push for top 4. So it depends all on Chelsea and Arsenal if they decide to go on a run, and then Leicester will obviously fall off from 4th. So I think it's really tough for Leicester to stay at 4th.
Yeah, I think they have. Sorry, I think they have a good chance finishing top 4. I personally said Spurs won't finish top 4 because of Leicester, because how good Leicester have been, and with Maddison coming into form, he's been scoring the goals. He's been looking threatening all the games he plays. There is no there's no game where he's like a 5 on 10. It's always 8 on 10. And without Vardy, I think he can be their main man, and they can look to him and like his creativity to create the chances for the other strikers, and not rely on Vardy so much. And I think Brendan Rodgers first has to be appreciated a lot. He's been doing well at the top level for so long, and I really, really respect the guy. I really, really hope he gets he pushes on to get like greater things. I really like the guy, and I think they'll finish top 4. I personally think they will.
I think
so before continuing, how will you guys rate Maddison's last season?
Was he not out through injury most of the time?
No, he was.
No, I think towards the end of the season, after post lockdown, I think he missed the entire part. That's where they missed Ricardo Pereira, Soyuncu, all those guys, and they dropped off the race for the top 4. But I think
Soyuncu was there. He missed the
last
4 games, 3 games, yeah.
So yeah,
He was decent, right? Like last season, I don't know if I remember
I think
right.
Madison was really good in games against Arsenal and all. I remember he scored that winner.
I think he dropped
I
off
think
towards the second half of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Like Raghuveer said, like Madison plays really well. No disrespect to him, like he's a really top lad in football, but he drops off and he doesn't put enough numbers. Like even though Vardy is gone, like he can't put up Vardy like numbers. Last season, like you said, I think he has only 12 or 10 goal contributions on the whole. So that won't get you top four if your main
I think in
striker
the
is
absence of
injured or out
Vardy,
of
he
form.
obviously has to take a lot of responsibility and drag Leicester through these next few games, especially in the absence of Vardy. So
Yeah,
I think with Leicester, it's always a case of wait and see and how long can they last, especially with
yeah.
Europa League coming up next week, next month. So yeah, and I think with that, I think we can wrap up the show. I think it's been a very interesting show. Obviously, a very exciting weekend ahead of us with the football coming up. Lots of good games, and of course, there's no question that what is the most important and most looked ahead for the game also. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot to Hari, Nars, and Raghuveer for coming on, taking out time. We'll definitely be back, hopefully with a slightly despondent and sad Hari next week. So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, so we'll see how it
Same
goes.
here,
So
same here.
guys, please.
Feeling is mutual.
So guys, please do like, share, subscribe to
Hopefully,
the
we'll
channel,
have
and
more sad people.
Yeah.
More sad people.
we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, so please do like, share, subscribe to the channel, and we got a lot of content lined up. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.